Ooh, what up, though? It is another Tuesday. It is Knockouts and Three Counts, and it is another fight week. This time it happens to be Gamebred FC week. We've got the return of our guy, Joe the Party, and man, do we got a lot to talk about as he's about to step in there against Charles Crazy Horse Bennett, Charles Felony Bennett. I don't know which name we're picking today, but the name that I'm picking today is the people that brought you this show, the sponsors and the homies over at Potter's Tree Service. If you're in the need for tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, all that, Potter's Tree Service has got you together. As you can see from this video here, it doesn't really matter. All you got to do is put it through the wood chipper, and you don't even need Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So if you're in the need for anything, getting any of these services done, make sure you hit up the homies at Potter's Tree Service. Tell them Knockouts and Three Counts sent you, and I promise you, this show is going to be a party. Check out the number, hit up the links, buy some merch for millions, and enjoy the show.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
And just like that, we're back at it, fresh into another fight week, man. It's starting to seem like every week ends up being fight week on this show, whether that comes from the wrestling side of things or in this way, we're talking about some bare knuckle MMA, and who better to talk about that with than the return of our guy, Joe the Party. Appreciate the time, my man. How you feeling?
Hey, man, I'm feeling great coming down here out of Orlando, Florida. Got a great card coming to you. Probably, I think, the most violent and most volatile card that Jorge and Dean Toole have put together. You guys have over, I think, 11 UFC veterans and a lot of guys that have a lot of fight left in their career. So these guys are amazing. I'll be starting off the show, and can't wait to get out there and let the fireworks begin.
I like it. And Corey, how the hell are you hanging, man? We was down there at Motor City Casino. Shout out to Carlos Linas and everybody that's going down over there. We saw one of the most bizarre sights I've ever seen inside of an MMA cage in my life. I saw a 500-pound man fight a guy that was 265-pound man. And let me tell you, that was a sight to be had. I don't know what to say about that. Shout out to last week's guest, Reese Kelly, who was in the co-main event against a very tough opponent, Eddie Torres. And then in the main event, we had Greg Sizemore and Ken Wolfmack going for the middleweight belt over there. Before we get to this weekend's business, Corey, you got any quick thoughts on Motor City Cage Night?
It was a fun night of fights, man. I was glad to be able to make our way out there as a show and stuff and be able to show face. It was definitely a good time. Like you say, the spectacle fight was definitely entertaining. Unfortunately, our past guest of the show, Reese, wasn't able to get it done in the co-main event. Like you said, tough opponent. Main event was entertaining, but it felt like neither one really went for it at any certain moment to try to really earn that belt, if you get what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I loved the Motor City soundboard as a venue, man. It really provided a perfect little atmosphere for the fight and stuff. It was a good time, man. It was a good time for anybody that hasn't made their way out to the clip events. I would definitely recommend it.
Hell yeah, I agree with you, dude. J-Bone, we got to bring you out to the next one. I know they're coming back. I hear there's some kickboxing going down there. So now we're getting boxing, kickboxing, MMA. They're trying to bring it all down to the city in the casino. So we got to check that out when they roll back through the Motor City Casino. But with that being said, like you said, Corey, it was quite the spectacle. I enjoyed myself. Shout out to Carlos Linas. I'm looking forward to seeing some more fights. Good fights from top to bottom. It's always a good night of fights when you can get 12 or 13 fights down in the city. But, man, those fights and the fights that we're going to see this weekend are about to be one hell of a difference because now we're going back to the bare knuckle weight. But with that being said, we're doing the MMA range. So with that being said, Joe, with you fighting your last few fights here, with Gamebred FC. Before we get into your fight this weekend with Charles Bennett, talk to me about your experience thus far with Gamebred FC and fighting the bare knuckle. What was it that attracted you to come over and be doing this regularly, being a guy who, when we last saw you, you were here fighting MMA and we were on the call against our guy, Austin Bashy. So how are you liking the bare knuckle side of things, bro?
You know what? Well, I just think that Jorge and Dean provide a guy like me and the rest of the gang a place to, or a platform to really like produce our best work, because we're getting paid handsomely. I think it's some of the best pay around in the United States and the regional market, that's for sure. You're going against top tier talent. The fights are all match made in heaven, basically, where like you're getting two guys that really want to throw down against each other, usually every time, or at least that's what they try. And you're always getting treated A1. Like we fight in big venues and arenas where the NHL plays, where the NBA plays this time, and where the UFC goes. That's kind of like where we go. We use the same hotels. We use the same venues for some of the locations. And so everything's just awesome from top to bottom, from the pay to the way we get treated. We got buses taking us to and from weigh-ins, to and from the fight. We have everything just lined up for us, itineraries, guys to call at any if we have any problems. So it's just amazing. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons guys like me fight over there, is because you get treated really well. And then at the same time, you're going to get these matchups that, yeah, you want. You're not going to get guys that lay on top of you or looking to hold on to you for 5 or 3 rounds. You're going to get really big fights, and guys are out there that really let it all hang.
I like it. Corey,
I don't
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, man, that's one thing you can definitely say. I've been watching all the Gamebred MMA bare knuckle stuff, and yeah, man, the matchmaking's been on point. They've done a really good job of, like you say, bringing in guys that really want to bring that excitement. It's not just about getting the wins in there so much as it is bringing an entertaining fight that the fans will actually be interested at the end of the day. Win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter, as long as you actually perform an entertaining fight. That's what it seems like at the end of the day through those guys.
Can't argue that at all, dude. The question I got with that being said is, like I said, obviously you said the treatment and the pay and all those things, which are obviously the most important, have been one of the main things that have kept you over on the bare knuckle side of things. But with that said, you know, I've kept up on your fights since you were last here, and I got to call you in action in person. And I saw you also pick up a win for Jorge Masvidal in the Icon Fight Series over a tough Moldovan kid out of ATT and stuff like that too. So do you think for right now, bare knuckle is going to be like the main focus, or do you still see yourself kind of bouncing back and forth between that and regular MMA, depending on the fight?
Well, you know what it is? It's kind of like I just train all year, all the time. And what I do is I try to have a daily regimen, you know, like Tuesdays and Mondays are usually my two-a-days, where I go in to the gym twice at least. And then the rest of the days are kind of either a cardio or a different type of day. Well, what I'm trying to say is that I'm just ready to fight at all moments, at all times. Sometimes maybe I'm taking a couple weeks off because maybe I'm bored at the gym and I'm like, you know what, let me just go eat some nachos somewhere. But I'm always chilling, bro. I'm always training. You know, I'll go down and play darts and pool with some of my local coworkers here at the local bars and stuff. So I'm always like relax, chill, but I'm always at the gym also. You know, I do my job, I go to work, but I also enjoy myself, and I'm not a weirdo that doesn't like to hang out with people like some of these MMA guys. Like, I'm out at the bar eating wings, watching football, chilling, having some fucking shitty ass domestic beer like anyone else. But you know what I mean? I'm keeping it cheap too. And then in the mornings, instead of hanging out and chilling, I guess, or going to work, I clock in at the gym and I go run and I go lift and I go do boxing, and that's kind of like been my lifestyle the last few years or whatever, or for a while now.
Be ready
I
at
call
any
them the party,
moment,
man.
stay ready to get ready.
Yeah, I just got to be ready to party at all times. And when moments call for you to show up, you just show up ready, even if you're not ready. The fight I had up there in Michigan was one of my favorite fights to look back at, just because of the opponent and the pressure and the wrestling that he was trying to give me. And it was amazing, man. It was a good fight. I wish I had come a little bit more prepared for that type of strategy, maybe. But I also was sick as fuck, and we take the fights, as is. You don't make excuses, Sometimes you go out there and you're not at your best, and sometimes you're at your worst and you come out performing beautifully. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's whoever wants it at the moment.
I like it. And speaking of that fight, that raises a question. Now your last few fights have all been for Gamebred and all in the bare knuckle realm of things. Was there anything, calling that fight against Austin that you just referenced? I noticed that you tried to keep pressure on him. You weren't afraid to wrestle with him either. With that being said, now that you're doing a lot more of the bare knuckle stuff, did that change up at all the way that you want to fight? Is there any things that popped out to you where you were like, yo, these are things I got to change in bare knuckle versus, a regular MMA fight?
Not really. I know it's insane, but not really, man. If you guys saw last time, I have a very what I call a hands down approach, where my hands are going to be down and I'll be doing a more I don't know what they call it, but like a Nassim Ahmed and these other type of fighters where I'm more comfortable with my hands down.
Emmanuel
And sometimes
Augustus.
I'm playing with the sword, and then at the same time I could die with the sword. You know what I mean? It's a double-edged type of thing where it looks amazing when it comes out perfectly, and I could really pull it off sometimes and make these masterpieces happen. And then sometimes it doesn't work out. The guy just outworks me or finds a way to just get to the point a little bit faster or whatever. And that's just how MMA is sometimes. But yeah, I have a crazy style, and no, I'm not going to change anything for bare knuckle or anything. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be dangerous to watch for anyone. They're going to be biting their nails, and they're definitely going to remember my name and my fights, just because I'm going to bring it every single time. Never going to stop. Just like you saw in the fight in Michigan, I have 5 rounds of fucking never, I'm never going to stop. I got up about 14 different times, I think, in that fight, maybe 28 or some crazy number. That kid might have took me down like 40 times. And there was not too many times where I was on my back just hanging out. I worked my way to my feet, and we get in some of the same positions. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is there's not really too much quit in me. It's going to take a lot for him to take me out. And I think I could touch his button a little faster than he can touch my button, and I can make him say uncle. So
I like it. Well, fighting for somebody like Ori Masvidal and Gamebred FC, man, I know that I've seen on social media, I've seen Ori put you over heavy with the way that you fight and stuff like that as well. Talk to me about fighting for somebody like that, who we all know is, fought anybody, anytime, and all that kind of stuff. What's it like fighting for somebody like him versus some of the other promotions that you have fought for?
You know what? I feel like Jorge is one guy that out of nowhere, the stars aligned, and he needed a guy last minute, like you were talking about, some prospect from ATT that they were trying to push towards the UFC Contender Series or something. And I told him I could make weight. We ended up missing weight and being, I think, fighting at 130 or 132 or some weird catch weight. And I had a great fight, and from that moment on, Jorge was very impressed. You had Roberto Duran in the crowd; he was impressed. It was just an overall fucking fun atmosphere. My kids got to go to the fight for the first time. Everybody was there, all my teammates, and I'm trying to do that again. And I'm just trying to make sure that this time everyone remembers a fight of the night type of performance. And me, I think, in Crazy Horse, have the type of skills and the type of I don't know, maybe it's this type of styles that will match up and make something weird kind of fucking happen weird and entertaining and violent ways. So, because I'm never gonna be pretty, but I'm gonna flow on them and I'm gonna crash. And when I crash on them, I'm gonna try to hurt him. I'm sure he's gonna do the same.
Well, we brought it up. Go ahead, Corey.
I was gonna say, with somebody like yourself that has such a, like you were just kind of explaining in your own way, a very show-stopping and entertaining style. I mean, like you said, you're taking on somebody like Crazy Horse. I mean, that's just like a fight made in heaven between the two of you. Whichever one's able to come out, and especially if you're able to get the victory on that one, I mean, it's a big victory over somebody. Everybody who's going to be watching that event's going to know who Crazy Horse is if you walk out with your hand raised on that one. That's got to be a cool feeling going into that one.
Yeah, man, that's the best thing about fighting, when you're doing the things that at least I'm trying to do is test myself. Like you've seen in the past, I'm taking on the best from Michigan, taking on the best in the West Coast, taking on the best in the South, best in New England, best from every pocket in the United States that they have. I've gone against most of them. And if not, most of them are already in the UFC that I fought. So I'm just going out there and I'm trying to chase my dreams, trying to get to be the best version of myself and really give fans and everyone something to talk about when they get back home and they watch it, or they can show their coworkers on some highlight or some shit. I want something to go viral. I want to be talked about. I want to be paid more, and I want to be put into better positions with even more better fighters. You know what I mean? With like more of a upside. I think he's a legend, and beating him will solidify me as a local Orlando MMA legend, which I already am. I get love from everyone, from all these regional events whenever I go. All the UFC guys and different guys from different organizations show me a lot of respect and a lot of love, and it's really cool to see that. But I also want to get paid well, and I want to be able to provide for my family and eventually be able to live off of this shit instead of having to work at the bar and break my body down going up and down fucking a flight of stairs carrying ice and dealing with drunks and crazy people. So
What a difference in careers, right?
Yeah. I just want to walk away and live on the beach somewhere and go hang out at the bar. Not
So I got a question though. We've seen you've done traditional MMA, now bare knuckle MMA. Is there a difference in approach to when you're striking, whereas now your hands are bare, your wrists are just taped up? Is there any different type of approach to the game as far as striking, defense and offense, I guess?
For the most part, what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm not giving them, which is hard with my type of style, because I'm going to be putting my hands down, or I'll have one hand down, my lead shoulder down, and I try not to give them chances to exploit that guard. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll do an old school cross guard like Ken Norton, and sometimes I'll go across, or like I'll do different things, play long guard or grab the hands a lot, to avoid them getting access or opportunities to those holes. But it's definitely hard. You got to be really aware. Some guys like to go, the traditional, just like, up, hands up guard, which is fine too. But I just find that too easy to exploit, to get around the sides and the underneath and different things that people could do to you. But and then when you're attacking, I feel like you have to be a lot more sharper, meaning like your shots got to be a little bit more straight on. And, if you're taking a long loop, they do work, because I'm able to work a lot of looping shots and hooks. But they got to come from a different angle with good timing. And they also got to get around the initial hands being up, just that basic guard. You're going to have to loop it around that hand or that whatever you're going to be going against, that forearm. But besides that, not really, a lot of people have this idea that's a lot different. I take it as you hurt the guy, it's going to be almost over a lot faster, a lot sooner. If you implement, if your jab is landing and you're landing it with like regularity and it has some pop to it, you're going to damage the guy, and the fight might be over by the second round if you land the right cross behind it eventually. So that's the cool thing about it too. And the submissions go on a lot easier. There's blood and everything, but there's no gloves. So it becomes a lot easier to submit someone to slip my hand through without a big glove getting in the way and them holding on, because that's what us MMA fighters do. We'll hold on to the gloves and the inside or the wrist area of the glove, and then it becomes hard to be able to manage, the flexibility, but not with the hands being there, with the sweat. I'll be able to change my grips and hopefully get a rear naked choke maybe on this guy too. Who knows? Whatever gets presented. But I want to shoot straight shots, be more narrow and more on point, and at the same time protect myself as much as possible.
Okay, so we've already talked about this a little bit in just this episode alone. Obviously, we know that you're not afraid of inside war or anything. Whoops, there it goes. There's not. We all know that you're not scared of a war. I feel like fighting a guy like Charles Crazy Horse Bennett or Felony Bennett or whatever name we're using today. That this fight's going to go one way. This fight's going to be, unless you're expecting something different than I do, I think I speak for all three of us when as soon as I saw this matchup, I was like, this is going to be a war. Somebody's either getting knocked the fuck out or they're going to beat the hell out of each other for the entire time that fight's going on. So when this fight was announced to you, you got to tell me, what were your thoughts on the matchup? And with talking about the way that you plan to fight in this, how do you think this fight finishes?
My motto for this fight, I told my buddy Phil Rowe, like when it first got announced a long time ago, when they brought it in on the table in front of me, he was like, dude, I was so excited just to get to be able to fight with a legendary name like that, a guy that fought at Pride and a guy that I was watching when I was an amateur,
Elite XC, Pride,
Risen DVD with him fighting over in Japan, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And who would have thought all these years later that I'm going to be fighting him in my hometown where the Magic play in the biggest arena possible. And it's going to be fucking gnarly. But yeah, man, it's definitely going to be a war. And I always thought from the moment that we heard about it or they presented it to me that it was going to be a fucking fun fight. No matter what weight or what weight class it was at, I knew I was going to take the fight just because I knew it was just fun, man. Fun for the fans, fun for me. And I think it's a fair fight between two guys that have a lot to prove. He still wants to be known, as the guy that he was in the past. And I want to take some of that clout and solidify myself, like I said, as an Orlando legend. And by beating him and getting a W, it would definitely solidify me as that. And but I'm here to fight. Yeah, we're gonna have a fucking, like, I predict the fight of the night type thing, but I don't know how long he'll last. So that's the only thing that I'm worried about. Like, we'll see. You know what I mean? I expect everything and anything. If he throws bombs, but my chin is tested. Not too many people have put my lights out. If I fall, I get right back up. And he's going to have a tough test ahead of him too. So it's going to be, like I wanted to call it, pace and pain. I'm going to bring a lot of pace and a lot of pain. And I'm trying to do that right off the first round. So we're going to be throwing hammers and he's going to be throwing some punches. I think he gets comfortable trying to sit back and counter. And even if he makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to shoot through that feeling of feeling uncomfortable and anxious, and I'm going to dart right in and throw fucking a straight shot right down the middle, down the pipe. And when he does that, he's going to get touched, and I'm going to continue to do that. So that's my plan, basically.
Well, you
it's the opening fight of the night, dude. Fireworks immediately. You know what I mean?
Gunfight,
get there early because it's gonna go.
They're stealing something from pro wrestling on this one. They always talk about you got to start off with Detroit Rock City, and there's not really much better way that you could start that as we head into Gamebred FC. And you even touched on something else that I wanted to ask you about. The other thing that I really like about this matchup is, like you talked about, you have, at least since I've been following your career, since you came up here, and then when I covered the stuff with Cage Titans, I mean, you guys both have, and you've alluded to it even with his fights. You know, you guys both have taken the toughest opponents that you can. You guys have the resumes that speak for it with just who you've been in the cage with. With that being said, I like this matchup for the simple fact that, okay, both of you guys are on a few losses, but that don't mean a damn thing once you get in there because, like you said, if you're able to go in there and let's say you end this by knockout, I mean, what better way to get yourself back on the trajectory that you want to be on than to go in there against like a guy like Charles Bennett and then to be able to, who knows, maybe you beat him and this could be the last one. But this is a true fight where both of y'all got everything to gain and nothing else to lose on this one. And I feel like because of that, that's going to create a whole nother vibe once y'all step in the cage, because after seeing it in person, something tells me that the party's going to be on 10 come fight night.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely, you know what, I'm super relaxed as of now. Obviously, you know, I'm hitting my vape pens. I'm cutting a little bit of weight, so I haven't been able to like fucking eat like a fat ass like I normally do. I can't have my chicken wings and my rice and my beans and my pizza and shit. And I can't have no IPAs. So I'm like on this crazy little diet they got me on, but it's all part of the game. You know, I'm eating my acai bowls and having bananas and granola for a few days. I had a poke bowl the last 2 nights, so it's not too bad. But once it comes to fight night and we weigh in and we get face to face and I get into that atmosphere with the rest of the goons, the bare knuckle fucking monsters I have back there with me, I'm definitely going to get into character and I'm definitely going to play my part and I'm going to be the villain and I'm going to try to get into his head. And maybe I won't, you know, maybe fucking I'm not feeling the vibes because I don't think he's the type of guy that talks a lot of shit. He's just the type of guy that acts kind of wild and crazy at the weigh-ins. You know, he just does weird shit all the time. He might be brushing his teeth for all I know. He's the type of guy that does that type of shit. He just does weird, awkward shit, which is funny. I love it. You know, it's all part of his gimmick. But I'm here for business. Just like you said, I'm trying to bounce back off a couple losses, and at the end of the day, I'm trying to solidify myself in this MMA planet and make sure my name is fucking remembered amongst the stars here, you know, and hopefully, like, you know, get to a different position in the Gamebred company and get another opportunity to go against a really tough opponent, maybe for a shot at the belt or, you know, maybe a Grand Prix with all us bantamweights or something in there. You know, I would love to do something like that too, or make it a fucking 3 fights in one night type deal. You know, a winner gets a certain amount of
like
money.
A real life Kumite and shit.
Yeah, dude.
Old school fucking UFC shit. Make it 3 fights in one night or 2 fights in one night, whatever they want. You know, I'm down to fight 3 fights in one night. I'll take down whoever 3 times in a row, and I'll fight Godzilla for money. My mom, whoever the fuck.
He's like moms too. Mom
they can't clean the blood up either, though. You got to leave the blood there the whole night. No cleaning the blood.
That's kind of gnarly.
Well, dude, that was what I was going to ask you too. I mean, obviously, we've seen that you've had a lot of stuff go down at the weigh-ins. You're a big fan of the mental warfare. I've seen you try to get into a lot of your opponents' head. I was going to ask you if that's something that you see happening in this one, because to your point, with him maybe coming out to brush his teeth, maybe he forgot his floss today. You know, we don't know what Charles Crazy Horse Bennett is going to pull out at these weigh-ins too. And when you mix the two of you guys together, I feel like the weigh-ins alone might be almost as action-packed to get you ready for fights. But like you said, with him being a legend like that, I mean, who knows if you guys just end up chilling. So what goes into your mind when you get into all these crazy weigh-in brawls, man? Because you've went viral off the shit before you even get in the cage. And I mean, man, if you could ever have a foil for you to fight where you're crazy and his crazy together might make some crazy shit, this is the fight for that.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. A lot of times I think it just comes from like being having that fucking Nick Diaz type of attitude towards like the whole thing where I'm showing up into someone's hometown, everyone's there. At least I'm making this false narrative in my head just so I can really like power my way with like hate and this fucking Anakin Skywalker type of Sith Lord shit and cut through any guys. You know what I mean? Like I want to show up in someone's hometown and really like break their hearts and have everyone quiet It's hard to do. It's hard to do when you're doing it against the best in the United States and maybe some of the best talent, globally. We just don't know. Like, I know, like, that Austin kid's he's amazing. He's ready to do a lot of big stuff, but that's what you're facing some of the best guys on the planet or whatever, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. So you gotta live by the sword, and sometimes you die by the sword. And I'm a warrior, and I accept that. And I just think when we get to weigh-ins, it's another way for me to see where they're at. And if these guys, for some reason, have any like chinks in their armor, I'm able to exploit that, especially mentally, because what's the worst thing to do against me is to show up and start fighting emotionally. And sometimes that might work out, but if you're only doing it emotionally and you're throwing a lot of fastballs and they're all 105s and 100, like these crazy numbers, eventually I catch on to those fastballs and I catch on to your rhythm and timing, and then the fight becomes easy for me. But yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do a lot of the time. Sometimes the guys come on and they actually click on even better, and they're way sharper, and the animosity and the hate makes them click into something in their subconscious, and they get that inner nerd and fight the bully type shit, and they're fucking on fire. So I've had fights that it's backfire. Like with Bashy, he fought pretty fucking well. So maybe I should have been nicer, and he would have been a little bit more slower and docile. He didn't have so much heat for it, but you never know. Like I said, this is why you play these games. And as a fucking competitor on these one-on-one type sports, this is the place to play them at. This is where you want to try to like fuck with people's head. And obviously you're going to get a lot of backlash like online and shit, but it's part of the game. And if you don't have that thick of skin, then, maybe you shouldn't be fighting people in a cage professionally. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Definitely respect it, dude. Well, you guys got a hell of a main event for this card as well, bro. I've been looking down at you got Junior Dos Santos versus Alan Belcher for the Gamebred strap. Before we get to that fight, I gotta ask you, did you watch Alan Belcher versus Roy Nelson, and who did you have winning it?
Oh, I'm never gonna hate on my dog Alan Belcher, because I
love Alan Belcher. I loved him as champ over there too.
I love all the Mississippi boys. I'm real friendly with them. I've been on, when they're on the regional scene, I see a lot of those guys, around here and up and through these regional shows. But yeah, I think Roy might have pulled that one off in my opinion. But fuck if I know. When you're in Mississippi and you're fighting in their hometown, you're gonna be it's gonna be tough, dude. You're gonna have to win. You know what I mean? By a good margin, or at least really show the judges and everyone that you won.
I'm glad to hear that, because that was kind of my thought too. Like, and I agree with that completely. We talk about that on the show all the time about how I'm a big believer of when you're going into somebody else's hometown, you've got to all but finish them or make it completely one-sided to where there's no doubt that can be had by the judges. Well, with that said, I mean, he's stepping into one hell of a main event against Junior Dos Santos. I'm saying it right here now. My money is that somebody's going to sleep. But if Joe the Party's got to pick one, who's walking out with that heavyweight strap in the main event?
Oh my God, I like both of those guys. I'm gonna have to see them in a few days, probably tomorrow. All those bastards will be at my gym doing media day shit, and they're huge. Dos Santos, man, they're like fucking huge. They really are big guys. Like those guys would be in the front lines of the army if I had one. They're like their hands. Dos Santos' fist is fucking as big as my half of my head. But I don't know. You know what? I want to say Dos Santos is gonna win out of pure striking, but I think I'm giving too much credit towards Dos Santos, and I think that Belcher could surprise a lot of people, including myself. If he beats Dos Santos, it'll really solidify him into that top tier bracket of MMA fighter. If you get, you know what I mean? Like Alan he's a very high level, high talent UFC veteran, fought Husamar Paul Harris and figured out that fucking that puzzle when a lot of people were scared of him. But he hasn't been able to get a title run like Dos Santos and reach the levels and the heights that whatever you want to call it, of the career that Dos Santos had. I would put it that way. But in the bare knuckle, and as of recent, Alan Belcher has been fucking making waves and only getting better with age. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think this card is very underrated. It also has my buddy Alex Nicholson rematching Chase Sherman, I think his last name. Yep. Yeah. The Vanilla Gorilla. You know, they had a fight before at Island Fights, I believe, and Alex hit him with a spinning back fist and knocked him out. So this is a rematch. I'm sure Chase wants his revenge, and Alex wants to solidify himself as still the man to beat in the South and in the area in Gamebred. You know, he wants to stay undefeated and go for bigger heavyweights like Belcher and Nelson and whoever else is left up there. You also have guys like Guto Inocente from Brazil. He's a really high-level kickboxer. He's going to be knocking someone the fuck out. I don't know who he's fighting. But
Anthony Nchikawani's on this joint too.
There you go. What's his name? Tyler Hill, the zombie. He's from Mississippi.
Tyler Hill versus Brandon Jenkins.
Brandon Jenkins is a high-level guy. You know, these are high-level fights.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Like I said, it's going to be a lot of mayhem, a lot of blood, and the most violent show on earth returns March 2nd at the Kia Center, baby. It's going to be fucking amazing.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Corey, J-Bone, how are you guys feeling on that main event? Corey, I know you're a fight nerd and you watch everything as well. How do you think this fight plays out?
So we've seen a couple different versions of JDS show up lately, right? And what stage of his career is he in, right? Like, he got that big win in his last one, and that's kind of what's put him to this position. I believe that was Verdum that he got that win against, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'll pull it up.
I think that was a really overshot Verdum that doesn't want to strike people bare knuckle.
That's where I was kind of getting with as well on that. And that's where I was going to say it could be a huge confidence booster, though, for somebody like JDS who had kind of struggled in the later stages of his career. Now he's in this fight against somebody, like you said, with Belcher, who's just like, that's not somebody that you can just try to go in there and figure things out with. You'll get put out real quick, and that's what I worry about. Because to your point, I think JDS has the better technical skills in the striking, and he's probably the better all-around MMA athlete. But he's also in the later stages of his career, and I feel like before that last fight, unless that really changed the confidence level that we're going to see him bring into this fight, I feel like Belcher's probably going to be able to go out there and get it done.
I think the experience.
I don't like going against JDS, bro.
Yeah,
I was a
like
fan
going
of his
against
for so
JDS.
long,
I think that's just what it is for me.
The
name itself.
Yeah.
The name itself brings a lot of weight to it. You know what I mean?
So you think Shigano is going to pull out the genie out the bottle for this one, huh?
Hey, it only takes one punch, bro. Especially with no gloves.
You're not wrong, and especially from a fucking guy like that.
Big screen hammer coming at you like that, dude.
I'll tell you one thing. He looks good in person and in live. He's not like the thing is, I haven't seen him get hit, obviously. You know, like we haven't seen him get connected with by another heavyweight that can take another punch. But he can deliver the pain because he looks smooth, he looks big, he looks quick. But obviously, you know, that's the biggest thing I think at that weight class is like, can he get hit? I don't know. Maybe Belcher touches him once or twice and we see him wobble and do the stanky leg. You get what I mean? Or he just pieces him up, you know, because I feel like you're saying technically his boxing, I think he just has better boxing, you know, like it's pretty fucking nice.
Yeah, it's just whether or not he can weather the storm if it's brought his direction. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it this way, short and simple. Like I was looking down the list of each guy's last few fights, and I mean, dude, Alan Belcher hasn't lost a fucking fight since the last loss that it's got on here. According to this, it says his last loss was against Michael Bisping in 2013. The guy's been on one hell of a run as far as wins. Obviously, like I said, there was a lot of controversy with that fight with Roy Nelson, but I mean, dude, that's a lot of momentum for a guy to be coming in there with. And to your point with what you said with your fight, The thing that sticks out to me in this fight is, do we get an Alan Belcher where he says, okay, I had all these people saying that Roy Nelson won that last fight. Does he come out in this next fight and say, okay, I got a guy like Shigano in front of me. I want to leave this one end with no questions asked and be trying to go for a knockout, which in a lot of ways would play right into Junior's game as well. I think it all, to me, is going to come down to what is Alan Belcher's mindset going into this one. If he takes it as another fight and continues the win streak, I think he'll go in there, and I think he'll probably be able to get the job done. But again, to both of your guys' points, though, I feel like if he goes in there and tries to overcompensate, trying to catch that knockout against a guy like Junior Dos Santos, you could get caught real quick and in a hurry, and the lights can be off. That, to me, is what makes this fight so exciting to see, because I think it all kind of comes down to, how does Alan Belcher want to fight this fight? And if he allows Junior to play his game or gets too wild and gets caught, I think that could be it. But who do I think's going to win? I think Alan Belcher is going to win. I'm a big momentum guy, but I tell you, Dos Santos could put him to sleep. Well, we've talked a lot about Gamebred FC. I know you're a connoisseur of the fight game as a whole. So since we were talking about this last Tuesday, shout out to our guy, Devin Smith. You know how we roll over here, ride till the wheels fall off. He just fought for the LFA welterweight championship on Friday. You'll be back. And shout out to Rashad Evans, who was coming through. He came through and told us about his thoughts on Ilia Topuria's big knockout over Volk, and what we're going to see with Cheeto and Sean O'Malley. So what did Joe the Party think of what we saw at UFC 298? And who do you got out of Cheeto and Sean as well?
Oh, man, that's so... You talking about the fight with the Volkanovski and Topuria fight?
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I think, a shocking event and realization to everybody that, that's how crazy this sport is and how exciting, and how I wish one day it could be cherished like they used to, like, put boxing up in that type of platform and status, because that's how fucking rad I think MMA really is. It's like the new form of fighting that everyone can identify with, because everyone loves kicks, punches, and grappling. Everyone kind of seems to understand it more and more, and I think it's just great to be able to show people that anything can happen in this sport. Ilia Topuria is a very dangerous motherfucking guy, and at that weight class, and I think maybe the knockout from the Islam fight definitely affected my dog Volkanovski a little bit.
Agree.
And it's and you know what? At the same time, Topuria did the what he had to do, and he did the job right, and he touched him, and he hit him with a really powerful shot. Even had him posted, like they kept showing it on all the highlights and TikToks. Has his left arm posted against his shoulder or face, and then lets go on that right hook, and he's swinging all his body weight into it. It's going to knock anyone out, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. And just makes it easier when you just recently been knocked out and kicked upside the head and had whatever type of concussion he had after that. But yeah, I was very amazed by that. I think Topuria is a monster. I can't wait to see him against other opposition.
Do you think they rematch it again off that one?
I don't know. I think realistically, if I was Volk, if I was an advisor, you got to do it just like the boxers do. You got to be smart, like the old school guys. You got to take a break. Bitch, I'm taking a break for a year. I'm going on vacation, going to Thailand, going to train, get my dick sucked, have some coconut water. You know what I mean? Drink some
Man, need some relief.
Just chill, and then you come back on a little light fight, against some little guy that's undefeated but only has a few fights, and you can fucking kick his ass, and you move it on up little by little. I think that's the big thing that UFC and MMA needs to learn from boxing, is that you gotta, if you want to do it the right way and prolong your money, at least for the fighter, you got to do it the long way, meaning take your time. When you get knocked out, come back in a year, maybe 6 months or 8 months, but take your time, make your money, extend it a little bit. When you come back fight the right opponent at the right time, and build yourself up, because a lot of this confidence shit plays a big factor into what we do, more than what we fighters probably say out loud. But it does, like being confident, being that cocky guy, and being that asshole. It is what it is. It brings a certain vibe and a certain energy. And being the quiet, fucking humble guy that knows he's a badass also brings its own fucking energy. So it's like you gotta like know what you're doing and keep your vibes right. You know what I mean? You gotta keep the vibes right during these fight camps, because the fight camps get long.
I feel it.
I feel that.
It's crazy how quick the page turns though in the game. You know what I mean? Because just what 8 months ago we were talking King Volk, dude. King, pound for pound. Even after that loss,
forget about you.
Pound
Remember
for
what
pound,
Rashad
then he
said
gets
on
knocked
Tuesday,
out.
bro. Remember what Rashad said on Tuesday? He said, you take one shot and boom, in a blink of an eye, you go from top of the world to you lose a fight like that, and then everybody automatically thinks the guy ain't shit, like he didn't just have that whole run as champion. So it only takes one, man.
We just seen that saga play out the same way with Kamaru Usman just a year and a half ago, where everybody wrote him off immediately, and then next thing you know, they fed him to another, top fleet contender and Hasman on short notice, and here we are, kind of all like, well, is this the end of Kamaru Usman? When same type of deal, he was just in that same position. It's just it's a crazy thing as a fan. I'm sure it's even crazier as an athlete that participates in the sport. But I mean, just to see the revolution of how quick you can get into a position like that, and how quick after years of maintaining and earning your spot, you can just fall off the deep end. It's wild.
I think humans and the American public in general we're like that in a way, and unfortunately that's just how it is as fighters and entertainers and NBA players and anything else you do sports. It's like people love you, but little by little, it's not that people forget you, but you just get kind of like, you kind of get put into
There's a new flavor of the week.
Yeah, new flavor of the week, or just you get put into your era. 90s basketball is Michael Jordan, John Stockton. 80s is fucking Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Like, specifically, people remember certain decades and stuff with certain people and players for what they did during that time. And I just think sometimes just how it is as a fighter, you're gonna get forgotten really fast. And the new cool guy is always going to be cooler than the older guy that isn't cool anymore and, lost his last couple fights. It is what it is, but that's why we also do it, man. It's a part of the game, and harsh criticism and all that bullshit. But you got to be a tough guy and be able to understand your place in it all. We all have a place. From the guy that picks up, all the wins, to the guy that can't ever fucking pick up a professional win or two to save his life. There's guys out there, trust me, I've seen them, guys that struggle, you know what I mean? That can't get fucking a fifth win professionally. They got fucking 50 fights. So.
Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, I cannot wait to see you get inside that cage and scrap with Charles Crazy Horse Bennett, dude. I definitely think we're going to have to see how things play out for Volk, and I'm looking to see what happens with Sean and Cheeto come UFC 299. But, dude, for anybody that's on the table or maybe new to Gamebred FC, if you got any last words for your opponent, Charles Bennett, or for anybody new to Gamebred, what do you got for him?
All I got to say is March 2nd, Orlando, Florida, the Kia Center, where the Magic play basketball, baby. Yours truly. The party will be live. The party continues. Yes, I'm taking on another legend, Crazy Horse / Felony Charles Bennett versus the party. Come watch it. I'm opening up the show. It's going to be a banger. Come on. And can't wait to see everyone be there and fucking enjoy it. Come have a beer afterwards at the bar with me.
What's your first meal after your fight? First meal and drink. What are you getting?
Usually I always have some type of light beer. Like, I love to have like a beer shower Like I'll find like somewhere, even like in New England and shit, Michigan. Even I took a shower somewhere back there. They had some fucking water running somewhere. It might have been ice cold, but I had a towel. It was warm enough, and I take a nice fucking bath, and I have a Heineken or a Corona or anything really, anything that they have. IPAs are usually my go-to, but those get me really drunk after a fight because I'm dehydrated.
Have you tried Stone Cold's IPA yet?
I have not tried his IPA, but
that shit is good, bro. I'm being dead ass serious. The only place I've gotten to try it yet was in Vegas, and shout out to Johnny in the Nerd Bar. Like I said, I didn't know how I was gonna feel about it with having like the raspberry kind of aftertaste to it, but dude, that shit is good.
Anything Stone Cold does, I'm with, bro.
Those IPAs will get you there, man. I'll tell you that much.
Well, dude, you got to tell us that then, dude. With you being a Stone Cold guy, so am I. There's the picture of it up there in the corner. But that said, man, his greatest rival's back in this mug. What do you think about the return of The Rock, bro?
I thought he looked fucking phenomenal out there with that wannabe old school, like, that shirt that was like blinged out, like a Versace kind of like the Rock, corporate Rock type of like,
dude.
I grew up on that, which is fucking amazing. It was cool to see him. He's definitely different, obviously older, and they cut off the sleeves, but it definitely brought back those vibes. And I hope
some girl he's gonna smack the herpes off her face.
Yeah, I hope they do something with that character, and maybe they do something more edgy and not edgy, but something cool like they used to with that.
Well,
shit.
it looks like he's got to go the heel route on this one because man, the crowd turned when they said that Cody wasn't going to get his match at WrestleMania. That shit trended for like 5 days, and then the next thing you know, now the Rock split the bloodline and got heel Rock out there. I'm here for it, dude, because like you said, I grew up on his shit talking. I don't think there's many other people in the sport that are going to get away with telling somebody they're going to slap the herpes off their face. But I feel like we got to see The Rock and Cody Rhodes at some point too. So I'm interested to see how WrestleMania plays out. But like I said, I am looking forward to seeing how Gamebred FC plays out March 2nd, Orlando, Florida. Somebody's going to sleep and somebody's going to bleed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss who we've got coming through this Thursday. We will be joined by a guy who used to be known as Damian Sandow and Mizdow and all those things. Aaron Stevens from the NWA will be coming through this Thursday. Joe the Party is getting ready to party this weekend. Hit that button. Peace.
Peace, guys. Take